right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Screenside. Once again, I'm your host, Pina, and Fricka is here with me, and let's get it started. So, it's no secret to myself, yourself, and all the members of the audience that the cinema, as we all know it traditionally, is not seeing its best times. So, when I walked into the cinema for a session at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday and half the room was full, it was nothing of a shock to me. Ladies and gentlemen, if money speaks right now, it's saying horror in the movie industry. I was really shocked with this. I went to see Backrooms, a film that I didn't think was going to have so much of a presence as it did. There was a half room full at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday. But maybe it shouldn't have been a surprise to me if I had been paying attention to the headlines in the papers, seeing as this film was the highest grossing film at the box office that weekend. And not just that, this is an amazing record, I think. This is A24's most successful movie opening yet. These guys have made Lighthouse, they've made a couple of bangers, and this is the movie. This is the movie. I was going to say if you haven't guessed the movie yet, but I've already shown you the surprise, really. But before I get anywhere, as is tradition with me, ladies and gentlemen, the trailer for Backrooms.
I found something.
Okay. Did you find?
Found a place. It's massive in there. It just goes on and on and on. All these rooms. This place built, though. Actually, more like it remembers them. And the more times it remembers something, the less it does.
All right, so that was the trailer for Backrooms. And before we start our conversation, I have to say, a film that, despite it's good for the box office, Fricka U, I don't know if you know anything about it, but lackluster in my opinion. Absolutely lackluster film in comparison to the original concept. Now, Fricka, let me throw out the conversation first. What do you know about Backrooms? What do you know about this film?
I've watched a couple of the Backrooms videos. I've watched a fair bit of the sort of modern creepypasta sort of video on YouTube. It's sort of evolved ever since, I would say, before the release of Five Nights at Freddy's. It was sort of, you'd get written on forums, sort of really poor written stories of like horror stuff, and you'd get narrations on YouTube sort of retelling the story. But after Five Nights at Freddy's, it sort of turned to more video-oriented horror, analog horror, things such as what's the name? It's channel. It's a horror series that is about a fictitious channel with a lot of things. There's like a moon, and they tell everybody to. I can't say, but it tells everyone to game end themselves to put it in a family friendly way. And some of these can be quite captivating, but it feels like a very specific thing to the internet, very specific thing to YouTube, and I do wonder, even though I haven't seen the movie, if such a thing can be adopted to the cinema.
Well, I'm so glad that this is what you say, because I was curious about the many reviews that came out of this movie, and there were two things that really caught my eye on what I read and what I felt. First, it was a Letterboxd review of the original Backrooms short, right? The 9-minute first thing on YouTube. You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
And I believe the way they put it, and I don't have it with me right now, but I believe the way they put it is a short that understands how to do horror, how to do ambiance, and that it doesn't need more than 9 minutes to it. And now we have a 1 hour or a 2 hour movie that really doesn't hold up to that original short and that original YouTube channel. And in the New York Times, the Beatrice Loyasin, I'm going to put the quote on the screen. A great way to put it. That is Rayman on the screen. I believe. I'm sorry. I believe our director is having a problem. There it is. The quote. But what I meant to say is, yeah, I believe that's that's really the best way to put it. I mean, the original image is such a specific thing, and the shorts are so specific. You know, you have that VHS look the entire time, the first person.
I think it's muted.
What is muted? The quote? I mean, it's just a quote. It's not gonna have sound. But I don't understand. I don't understand.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what? Okay.
No, you're back. Okay.
It was my microphone that was okay. Sorry, my microphone. Actually, I might as well tell this before we started this episode today. My microphone was going berserk, and it's really been. I've been stressed out the whole time, thinking it's gonna explode. And anyway, as I was saying, I mean, this quote that she does is really the perfect description of everything, because that's what it is. That's what the movie felt like. It felt like an overstretched, sort of ruined concept of what is clearly a great short film. And why is this? Well, let's talk about the characters first. I don't even remember their names, although I am famously bad with names. There's nothing there. They're both nothing pies of character. You have this psychologist woman and this guy who owns a furniture store where the Backrooms are at. And the guy, I mean, he just sort of oh, I'm an alcoholic. Oh, I've just got recently divorced and I got kicked out of my own house. And there's really not much to grab onto it. And I think that's fine, because Backrooms isn't about the characters. It's about something else, It's about the ambiance. It's about this mysterious thing. My problem is they didn't do the mysterious thing correctly. They spent a lot of time outside of the Backrooms themselves. And then when they do go in, they revealed a bit too much, I think, is my problem with this. They just revealed a bit much, and they sort of took out that fantastic mystery that original image on 4chan had. And I mean, I interviewed some people in the cinema, and I asked them what they had thought about it, and some of them had said they were a bit confused by the ending, because they bring back the company from the original things, but instead of it being just how in Lethal Company, for example, that's a good example of a company that is exploring a place that is sort of mysterious, right? And it exists, but you don't know anything about it. As opposed to that, in the Backrooms film, it exists, what it's about, who created it, and what it's trying to do. And I don't think that's as interesting. I just don't think that's interesting. And but then again, I mean, what a success story, right? What a success story. Even if the movie is not very good, you gotta give it to Kane Parsons. This guy, 16, in his bedroom, he's making these shorts, and he gets this deal with A24, and he's doing this big movie, and it's A24's biggest success. I mean, what do you think of that? Is that revitalizing cinema, or what are we seeing here? What are we seeing here is what I want to know. Not just from me, but from everyone. Because the critics can say something, the numbers can say something, but the people can say something that they might think is different. Fricka, what do you think?
I have a very interesting opinion on A24. I think they are very good at putting these sort of indie projects and projects that will never be made into production. They are abhorrent at marketing. They are really bad at it. Any film, especially not just in marketing, but in distribution. I believe it was something with what was the film? Was it Marcy Supreme that got a no? Yeah, Marty Supreme didn't get much of a marketing budget, and so the main actor, Timothée Chalamet, he basically had to do most of the marketing by himself.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, A24 films, they don't make much money, but they could be quite good, and they're very good at making these projects happen at the very least. And especially because this is a more internet oriented project, and Kane Parsons is a public figure. Of course, Backrooms is going to find a lot more success, and I'm happy that A24 is finding that. But I don't think it's going to be a long-term thing for the studio.
But do you think it's so hard to describe? I mean, because A24, we have this with this company, which has always been sort of, this is what the cinema company. It's sort of like an HBO in the early 2000s for television, or as I like to compare it a lot of times, like Miramax in the 80s and early 90s, which was this company that made, some of my favorite films, like My Dinner with Andre, which is this really indie production. It's really a fantastic production, is it My Dinner with Andre, or is it Smoke? Okay, and I'm not sure now, but it's one of those two, which I really like. And and then they got bought, and it all went down the drain. And as we know, A24 is on the verge, or has already gotten bought by a bigger company. And then suddenly they start making these moves, like going to the internet and getting this big meme story to make a movie. Is that, how weird is that? I mean, are we seeing the end of this fantastic company? Are we seeing yet another Miramax? What are we seeing here? Is what I don't understand. I think because I mean, it's a fine movie, but Ken Parsons needs a new scriptwriter. That's for sure. He's making a sequel already, by the way. I don't know if you were aware of this. They're already working on the sequel.
Yeah.
It's worrying. It's worrying, definitely. And he needs to get a new scriptwriter, I'm afraid to say. I'm sorry. I'm sure the guy who wrote the script's a sweetheart. An absolute sweetheart of a person, but it's just not. It was just not working. And I don't know. Although I will say, beautiful shots. Beautiful. It looks beautiful, the film. But every film nowadays looks beautiful. Let's be honest here. Every film looks beautiful.
I do think I think one of the reasons why they're making a sequel, not just because it's doing well, is I do remember a lot of production images being released of just this massive set with a bunch of corridors, just a gargantuan labyrinth. Yeah. And so it makes sense why A24 would probably want to reuse that for a second project, not just for one. But I mean, we saw this with Five Nights at Freddy. I wouldn't call Five Nights at Freddy's movie a sort of indie hidden gem on the same level as the Backrooms. Definitely not. But there is a timeline where potentially the Backrooms can end up just like Five Nights at Freddy's.
In what sense do you mean? Because I mean, I guess I see what you mean. I mean, they're very similar in the sense that they come from this internet phenomena. I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's is more a YouTube thing than an actual video game, I would argue. And they sort of come from the same sort of horror genre and all that stuff. But I mean, I think they were picked up by completely different productions, obviously.
Yeah, Blumhouse.
Do you think if the Backrooms was picked up by a different production, or inversely, if Five Nights at Freddy's was picked up by A24, that we would see the reverse?
I do think it is probable, because something I've noticed is while we do still have the sort of traditional dramatic movie, a lot of movies nowadays, especially movies that are doing well, are sort of unorthodox. They try to adapt something from a different medium.
Can I just interrupt you for a moment there? Because it's interesting. I mean, yes. The creator of Smiling Friends, Zach Hadel, one of the two creators. I mean, in an interview, he says something so interesting that I think more companies should really start thinking about. I mean, Smiling Friends is made with a shoestring budget. And it's animation, and it's beautiful animation. And this is because Zach Hadel and Michael Cusack know these animators throughout the internet who are really talented people, and they make them work, know, they basically make them work, and it's for lower money but higher product. And he says this really good thing that I've been thinking about since I've heard it is, after George Lucas made Star Wars, who's gonna want to watch Star Wars B? You know, like, who's gonna watch the space movie that isn't Star Wars, but it's the same thing, you know? And that's I feel like what you're saying is not necessarily from now. I think it's just a concept that exists in creativity, and one that I believe certain people, shareholders, namely, have yet to understand, which is people pay to see different things. Nobody's paying to see the goddamn same thing unless it's Marvel. Please continue.
The thing that really was in my mind when I said this was movies such as the Super Mario Bros. Movie, of course the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, the Backrooms movie, and additionally the Iron Lung movie that happened much earlier. And these are all very unorthodox movies that don't quite follow the traditions of cinema and more draw on the traditions of the medium that they're trying to adapt.
So much so, as we discussed last week, to the deterioration of the Mario Galaxy movie, where they got rid of, in true Mario Galaxy form, they got rid of the story and heightened the gameplay, except it's a movie, so there's no gameplay. But yeah, keep going, please.
I do feel like, while it is nice to see all of these adaptations, as is the same for any era of cinema, I feel like in 5 years' time, we're not going to be seeing as many video game adaptations or adaptations of trends. Like, at a time, it was announced that they were going to make a Skibidi toilet movie, of course, and nothing ever came of that. But it just feels like anything that cinema's so desperate to become, well, it's not mainstream, but to become more relevant. It feels like they are relegating themselves to go to other mediums that are more successful and finding things that are successful and then drawing them into cinema to financial success, but I wouldn't say critical success.
I would agree, were it not for the other movie I'm going to talk about, really, which is which really just ruined me. There's no other way to put it. You know, this other movie, I'll just tell you the story exactly as I felt it on that day. So I absolutely hated it. I could not stand it, frankly. To everyone who knows me, it is a fact well known that my propensity towards horror is to not enjoy it. I really hate horror. I'm skittish, easily scared, and don't generally enjoy the aesthetics of it. And even worse, to my old stream people who are here, I played Five Nights at Freddy's once. I made it 10 minutes. I could not handle that pressure of getting scared. It's what it is. However, the next movie we'll talk about was a must-see for a reason that might horrify Hollywood investors much, much more, which we were just talking about. The idea that quality, not money, Fricka, sells. If you haven't guessed it already, here is the teaser to clue you in.
One wish, Willow. They only get one wish. I wish Nikki Freeman loved me more than anyone in the entire world.
I love you so, 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 so much.
Do you still think I'm pretty?
Right, that was the teaser, if you haven't seen it yet, for Obsession, which, Fricka U, let's just do a little exercise here before I keep going on about my own personal experience with the movie. What had you heard about this movie before, I said I was going to cover it last week?
You see, I wanted Nitro, and I needed orbs for that, so I played the Obsession game on Discord. It's a little mini game for Obsession.
That is so stupid, and
That is my only experience with this movie.
And that's how you came to learn of it, Discord. I mean, that's interesting.
Yes.
Before we get into that, because I think marketing, both for Backrooms and for Obsession, has been such a big important part of these film strategy. But let me tell you, I absolutely hated this movie. I could not stand it, frankly. The acting was eerie, the atmosphere was awkward, and by the 1 hour mark of the film, I wanted to get the hell out of the cinema. I was not having a good time. And that, Fricka U, is proof that this is a good goddamn horror film, because I hate horror, and all the things that I hate for these films are good, and I gotta give it to it. It was brilliantly done for a horror film. It was absolutely brilliantly done. I had not watched a seriously scary horror film since I was very, very young. And by seriously scary, I believe I mean Horror Movie 3. What's the one that's a scary movie 3 was on television.
Dude, they're making a new one. Scary Movie 6.
I know, but before we get into that, Scary Movie 3 was on television and was too scared of that. Scary movie. But anyway, and I simply do not enjoy it. I just really don't enjoy it. I went to watch this to support something, and that something is incredibly important to cinema: a micro-budget box office success. I mean, this is behind Backrooms is the second biggest grossing film behind in front of every other movie that's released this past month, and it's really been such a jarring weekend for cinema in the way that we know cinema, right? We're used to cinema, Fricka, as this dead and dying thing. Nobody goes to it anymore. And I mean, I read an interview by Curry Barker, and he goes, no, I don't think it's dying because people are getting tired of telephones. No, I think it's not dying because companies are finally realizing what our generation wants to see on the big screen. But regardless of that, for the whole second half of the movie, when the tension really is palpable and I feel like I can cut it out with a knife, I want it out of there. I want it the hell out of there. I was in the cinema room, I was in the back, in the middle. And so, have you ever been in a full cinema room in the back, in the middle, Fricka?
I tend to be like middle back.
Middle back, yeah. The problem with middle back is that your left is full of people and your right is full of people.
Yes.
And you're in the middle. And usually in the middle, if you stand up, the rows behind you see you stand up. So I was offered a conundrum there. Ruin the movie for these people or ruin the rest of my night. And unfortunately, I had to ruin the rest of my night. And my fate was sealed hours before I even was watching the movie. I mean, when I bought the ticket for those seats, I think maybe subconsciously I wanted to stay till the end. I needed something to make me stay until the end. Regardless, I have one thing to wonder, which I just said, but how important is this movie, actually? I've seen people argue that this movie is one of the most important things to happen to cinema recently because it's a micro-budget horror film that has had great success. But let me say a couple of names that will, I'm sure, resonate with you and the audience. Saw, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch Project, Night of the Living Dead. What do all of these have in common? I mean, it's really not very hard. They're micro-budget horror movies with success. And my question to you, Fricka, and to the audience is, are we seeing a special case of horror success, or is this another one? I mean, horror seems to be so easy to turn into a big thing, even when it's micro-budget. And all these films that I just said, and I know there's going to be some mope saying Saw's not a horror, it's a slasher. You know what I'm talking about. Don't be precious with your little terms. Anyway, my question is, do you think this film's important, or do you think it's just, again, to use this expression the second time in my show, a fart in the wind?
See, I was going to bring up Paranormal Activity because I feel like it's a good indication of what kind of influence Obsession is going to have in the long term. I feel like in the long term, as is with all these other horror movies, we're going to see well, we're currently in a boom of horror movies, but then
Yeah, no,
it's gonna
that's definitely such an important point, because it's not just these movies that I just said. I feel like every other movie that people talk about is a horror movie. But please continue. Yeah, we're in a boom of horror movies.
I do feel like when we had Blowish Shaw, when we had Saw, when we had Paranormal Activity, all of these led to not just their own franchises, but also a boom in the horror genre in cinema. But most of those movies were not very good, especially in the case of Saw. I know there are fans of the Saw movies. None of them pale in comparison to the first one.
Oh man, are you saying this about Blair Witch Project? Is that
Blair Witch Project? Not quite, but Paranormal Activity, yes.
Paranormal Activity is a bit crummy. I agree with that. Yeah. And so, what do you think? I couldn't quite get it.
I don't think Obsession is going to lead to its own sequels. Of course not. But I feel like there will be horror movies put into development based on the success of this, based on the success of the Backrooms, or Iron Lung, or Weapons from last year, and they're just going to miss the point. It's not going to be very good. Horror movies going to die down again, and then we're going to have another boom of horror movies. It's just the cycle of cinema. It's the cycle of life.
I see what you mean, but I have to disagree. I think, not disagree factually. We're going to see a bunch of horror movies. We are already seeing a bunch of horror movies. It was already happening. I mean, I would say like a quarter of film festivals in the world are dedicated only to horror. Because apparently it's just the best thing ever, and I just don't get it. It's just not for me. But my point is, I don't think we're going to see much different. I mean, Blair Witch Project, that was such a good film, and I feel like it influenced so little. And it was so creative. And it influenced horror very little. It did other things, right? I mean, Blair Witch Project is the first film on that used the internet, right? Transmedia. Not as in transsexual. Transmedia means, media, all media, the use of all media, not just film or the TV screen. But it used internet pages to sell its sort of mystery and sell that mockumentary aspect. And my point is, Obsession is another horror movie. And that's it. It's a good horror movie. It has good suspense, but it's just another one. I don't think this is the film that I've heard certain people say this is what cinema needed. No, I would argue even this year or last year, I suppose, there is a film that cinema needed much, much more. And from a director who I love, and we watched this together, and I think it's low budget, not micro budget, but I think it's way more innovative, and I think it's going to be way more influential. Fricka U. Obsession doesn't hold a candle to Nirvana the band, the show. And I know it's a weird comparison to make, but wouldn't you agree this is a similar situation where it's a low budget, super success, but unlike Obsession, you have a film which is doing so much different, so much bold, so much influential, and it has had commercial, critical, and just all-around success. Wouldn't you say that that's more important than, just another horror movie?
Yeah, and Nirvana is one of the few examples I can think of where it's carrying from another medium in the case of sort of a web episodes and bringing that into cinema and doing a good job of that.
A fantastic job of it, because it kept all that was good from the web series while adding this big movie feel to it. And Matt Johnson, who's directed Blackbird, not Blackbird, what's it called? Blackberry, and who's going to direct now this big Anthony Bourdain film now, which looks fantastic, by the way. I'm so excited to see it. I mean, he's such a great artist, and he loves the medium and doing art so much. And I think the way it's rejuvenated comedy, not just, horror, anyone can do horror. Comedy is so hard to do, right? And I think it's such an important thing. And I think you've touched on something that is so important, which is, let's take all the big box office and critical hits of the year. You have Nirvana the Show, Iron Lung, Obsession, and Backrooms. Do you know what is common between all these four? I'm assuming
Transmedia, right? Transmedia.
Not transmedia.
Well, not transmedia, but no, carrying from other mediums.
Carrying from other mediums, specifically YouTube. Markiplier, Kane Parsons, Curry Barker. Matt Johnson's technically not YouTube, but I mean, it's because he started before 2006, so he didn't have YouTube at the time, but let's just call it YouTube.
He would have been.
He would have been a YouTuber if he came a bit later. He would have definitely been. These are all movies that come from the YouTube spectrum, and I think Obsession is not successful because it is an innovative, fantastic film. Obsession is successful because it's what Gen Z is interested in. Backrooms is successful for the same reason. Nirvana the band is a bit of an older head, but it's still like, okay, it's the internet, it's these people. What are they interested in? I mean, Markiplier, same thing. And I think these movies were all successful, except for maybe Nirvana's Band the Show, which has a really difficult release schedule because of all the laws they break. But it's not inherently to do with the quality, but with the topic, the interest. And I think we're going to see a renaissance of going to the movies because movie companies are finally realizing we need things that these people, the younger generation, are interested in. We can't keep doing the same thing. And I feel like that's a fair assessment.
I feel like what cinema needs isn't quite replicating something else and then putting that in cinema. It is instead creating something that can only be experienced through cinema. And Nirvana the Band the Show, the movie, does that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely. I think that's the important conversation to have. Before I open call-ins, however, I want to talk about the actual movie itself. It's a horror through and through, and it's scary. And the one thing that people have said about it over and over again has been the acting, right? The acting's great. And I agree. It's different. It's really weird. There's really nothing quite like it that I've seen, but it's horror. And I'm going to make a comparison that's going to piss you off. But there's a film that I like, that you know I like, that has really weird acting and had the opposite reaction in the mainstream.
All right, man.
I have to defend.
No, we're not doing this.
I have to defend Megalopolis, ladies and gentlemen.
All right,
when I got out of the
You count
cinema,
plummet to 2 viewers.
View count is not plummeting to 2 viewers. Look, Megalopolis is a film that is so interesting to me because it's the opposite. It's like it's the polar opposite of Obsession, and it was the only thing I could think of after exiting Obsession was about Megalopolis. It was an immediate connection to me. Here you have a micro-budget success with weird acting, and you have a macro, enormous budget, completely bombed, and that has weird acting too. It's like, it's different, but it's the same. And I think, and this is what I think is the shame to me, I think that Megalopolis has such a beautiful intent behind it. You can agree with that much, right? With the intent. I'm not saying the movie's good. The intent of the movie.
He did. I mean, it was his, like, I guess, his dream movie. He sold a bunch of wine and wanted to make it for decades. Yeah, but it's not good. It's not very good.
All right, but even if it's not good, just answer me. There's nothing like it, right? And even if you think it's not good, I think it has something beautiful, which is it tries to do something different. And I think, and I've been saying this for years now, in 20 years, 30, 40, 50 years maybe, in cinema classes, nobody will remember the likes of Obsession, the likes of what's that movie that I don't like, that I haven't watched because I can't with people. I watched just a bit of it. The one about the atomic bomb. I'm really forgetting the name of it.
Oppenheimer.
No one will remember. No one will remember.
That's not true. That's not.
A single person's going to remember that movie.
I think Oppenheimer is fine. I like it. I think it's a pretty good movie. It's not amazing, like some people say. I do feel like it's going to be remembered for a long time.
We'll see. I mean, in cinema class, and I mean, when we look at cinema like as the important marks, I think Megalopolis will be looked, even maybe just as a footnote, but it will be looked at because it has something beautiful to it, and it's unlike any other movie I've ever seen. Unlike Obsession, Nirvana the band will be the same thing, I hope, because it's unlike any other movie I've ever seen, and it's not unlike it because I've seen so many movies from the 60s and the 70s, and there's this mockumentary that reminds me of Nirvana the band, the show, because it's about this French guy who's a serial killer, and there's just a camera following this guy living a normal life, and then he goes and he kills people, and it's sort of the same situation where it's real life, but fictionalized real life. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now opening our calls. Please join the Discord if you haven't yet. To join the calls, you can type !Discord to join us. Fricka, would you like to bring in our first caller?
Welcome into the call, Knight.
Hello. So, most of the stuff that I was going to say has already been talked about, but I'm still here.
Please, go ahead.
Well, you're on about sort of like the resurgence of horror films and these underdog stories. Where you were on about with Kane Parsons in the Backrooms, and he's on 24. We're partnering with A24 Studios, but then we saw something earlier in the year. You've already mentioned with Iron Lung, which was completely self-financed, self-distributed. And
it was impressive.
It swept the cinemas within, and it was only out for 2 weeks and made 50 million. And I just think there's an interesting trend that's going on with this sort of stuff, especially in the horror spaces. But is just the amount of game and sort of internet adaptations as well, because all except for Obsession, as you said, all of the all of the horror movies that are coming out both last year and this year, it's just game adaptations, meme adaptations, not memes, but internet stuff. You had Five Nights at Freddy's, you had Iron Lung, you had the Backrooms, but there was also some ones that absolutely flopped as well. Around the time when Iron Lung came out, a week before, there was that new Silent Hill film, and nobody talked about it because it was
Silent Hill film, dude.
There was a Silent Hill film a week before. A week before Iron Lung came out, Return to Silent Hill, and it absolutely bombed, and nobody knows about it. I didn't watch it either. I just know it exists.
But I mean, that feels like it was bad marketing more than anything.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's Silent Hill. It's not sort of the same thing. Let's be honest here. Who is obsessed with Silent Hill? This is not the masses that are obsessed with this.
It's having a resurgence.
Yeah, but it's not that big of a resurgence. I mean, it's not Backrooms. It's not this internet influencer, right? It's not this prank YouTuber. Isn't it crazy, by the way? Can I just
not this Iron Lung?
Yeah, well, but it's Markiplier. That's the difference.
I guess so.
It's Markiplier. Can we just
that film was just entirely marketed by him and him alone.
Yeah, and it was impressive, and I'm glad he did it. I haven't watched it. I don't know if it's any good, but can we just talk about it for a moment? Kane Parsons. What is this route? Do you know what he used to do a year ago or two now? Before he started making short doing He did pranking YouTube. This guy was doing
this. I did not know this.
Yeah, he was doing prankster YouTube. Bro, what? And then he
was one of the Logan Paul types, huh?
Yeah, it was one of those Logan Paul types, and he just started doing short films, and I guess he found it fun, and he did this award-winning short film, which I forget the name of now, but it had the budget of $700. That's it, $700. And it's he got a huge success, and that's how he got to make this movie. But I mean, this guy, he came from YouTube. He knows what the kids want, is my point. And I mean, yeah, I get what you mean, Knight, that there's a lot of films that not a lot, but there's still films like Silent Hill that bomb. But you gotta admit, these two films that released just now. I mean, clearly they're coming from a place that is not traditional cinema, right?
No. And it's the same sort of thing that happened last year as well. We had Five Nights at Freddy's last year, which was the main sort of, I guess you call it a success. I mean, the critics absolutely despised it, but still, it made a decent amount in the box office. But for that Five Nights at Freddy's, there was also the Until Dawn last year that did not do nearly as well.
See, this to me is revealing though of something, which is, I mean, Until Dawn has a bit of a following, but it's not too big. You have these two franchises that aren't as big, and they don't have the name of the YouTuber behind them. They don't have the name of the influencer. And film has always been, unfortunately or not, about the auteur, right? It's that auteur cinema that always has existed, and these films get sold by the names that are in them, and that's always been sort of their strength. And I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's was a great success because of that. It's Five Nights at Freddy's because it's a big thing with autistic people and some normal people, I think. That was really mean of me. Not to say that autistic people aren't normal.
Right.
That was...
I forgot!
What did you forget?
The Digital Circus movie!
Oh, yeah!
It's out now. That's the one that's coming out now.
Yeah, it's coming out soon, and I'm telling you, it's going to be such a success.
Dude, I heard autistic people, and immediately, oh my god.
I'm pretty sure they were criticizing the last episode. I didn't know there was a movie.
No, yeah, there's a movie. I mean, I saw the trailer for it on the before Obsession. Also, I saw the trailer for a K-pop concert that was airing on the cinemas. That was really weird. But that doesn't matter. I just thought I should mention it. Also, I mean, with Five Nights at Freddy's, even I went to watch when it released, the first one, for my friends will know this, I got belligerently drunk and went to watch it with the sole intent of getting kicked out of the cinema, which I did by another moviegoer who threatened to beat me up. Fair enough, because I was making a lot of noise. But I mean, even like, you see, the reason I went there was not to watch a movie. It was I paid the tickets because I thought it was funny, and that's such a good marketing strategy too. And it works with something like Five Nights at Freddy's. And I mean, such an interesting comparison that I'm about to make. Interesting as in it might be absolutely stupid. But isn't this the Fortnite strategy? I mean, just make a bunch of dumb, stupid things, put it in the game, and people will think it's funny and spend money on it. Wouldn't you agree that it's sort of like that, though?
I was going to make a comparison to the Minecraft movie about that, because that was just all, look at this jingling keys, buy a ticket.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing though. It's like, what if a film was stupid?
It is unfortunate how it feels like natural, traditional marketing isn't as effective anymore, and they have to resort to these kind of tactics that aren't. It makes a joke out of cinema. It turns it sort of in more of a clown more than anything.
You got to TikTokify it.
Yeah. I guess that's a more broader issue with society as a whole now, and with social media. The other thing is, I do wonder how, to what extent, how easy is it going to be for people who want to be filmmakers to become filmmakers, because it feels like so many filmmakers now are influencers online, and then they become filmmakers because it's like, oh, that would be fun to do, and not to say it's like they didn't want to do that and they don't have a passion for that, but it feels like in the case of Markiplier, I would say I think Markiplier is a good guy, but you could tell when he started making YouTube videos, his final end goal was not to make movies. That is just something that came along the way.
Yeah, it was not to make movies. No, that guy never meant to do that. But I think that gets sort of disproven by you always had these writers and these people who were famous who had no right to be famous. And I don't think that's a new thing. And the writers and directors like Matt Johnson are few and far between. But yeah, I think with film students and whatnot, I don't know if that has, most film students end up like doing, like, I don't know, advertising or some stupid stuff. It's not, they rarely become film people. I feel like they do camera work and whatnot, not really directing and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I think you brought up a good point in this voice chat, really, in the studio, which is there's a lot of things like that. There's a lot of movies that are coming from YouTube, and I think that's the big thing about Obsession and all these. It's not that they're super quality. I mean, a friend of mine who runs a movie blog, she posted and like saying, "Oh, the acting's great, the low budget is great. This is exactly what cinema needs." No, what cinema needs is films, and it needs tickets to be sold. That's what it needs. It needs these companies that do streaming to keep doing really badly, like they've been doing with their prices and their availability of products, so that people stop buying them and start going to the cinema again. I think that's more so what matters, and I don't know if you guys would agree with that.
No, I think that's exactly, get people into the cinema. I mean, if you really want to be a filmmaker with absolutely zero budget, just wait for the next well-known character to become public domain and just make a slasher film out of it. That's what people have been doing at the moment.
Yeah, they wanted to do that with the what was it, Mickey Mouse? Is that what they wanted to do?
That came out within 9 months of him being public domain. That was a horror film.
Yeah, but it wasn't very popular from what I understand. It was sort of a skit. Well, I guess he knew.
Also, Winnie the Pooh movie.
That was the main one. I think with the Mickey Mouse one, they were trying to like ride that high of, oh my god, guys, they did it with Winnie the Pooh. Now let's do it with Mickey Mouse. And no, nobody cared.
I mean, Winnie the Pooh, yeah. No, nobody would care because Winnie the Pooh is already sort of scary, though. Scary guy.
What?
I know you had the what's it called, the game, the guy who decided, what if we made Resident Evil for children?
Oh, Piglet's
What
Big
does that
Game.
mean?
Piglet, yeah, you've ever seen Piglet's Big Game?
Oh, right.
And it's really funny, and it gives itself to that. But I mean, that's really what we need to know. But I don't know, have you watched Obsession or The Backrooms?
I have not. No, the last one I watched was Iron Lung.
Tell me about it, because I don't actually know about this film. I didn't watch it. I was like, oh, it's a Markiplier.
You didn't watch Iron Lung?
No, but I've never, and here's the reason, because I've never, and I have to admit this right now, and this is a public admission, I've never watched a single Markiplier video in my life. And at this point, it's been so long that I think it's too funny for me to watch anything done by the guy. But yeah, I didn't watch it. I don't know. I didn't really understand what it was about. I think it was my problem.
To be honest, I didn't really either, because I didn't play the game that it was based on. So I just sort of went in there and go like, it's Markiplier, I'll watch it. So a lot of the lore stuff I didn't really understand, but it's sort of like I don't know what to call it, like claustrophobia horror, because it's all set in one room. The entire 2 hours that you're in there, it's one room in the submarine in the ocean, which plays on the claustrophobia, the being alone part of it as well, because it's literally just Mark playing his character and voice acting the intercom, which gets cut out about halfway through the movie. So it's literally playing on the isolation, the claustrophobia, and it's a very, very slow burn. But I didn't get bored, which I think is quite impressive for that kind of film.
I have to. All right. Now that you say this reminds me of something else, which is I use Letterboxd because I like to see what people's opinions are, and I like to have a little list of the movies I've watched. I like going through the list and going like, oh, I love that movie. Oh, I love that movie. And rarely do I ever go, oh, I hated that movie, because I love watching movies, you know. And for those who are curious, the only movie right now that I say I would hate has been Sour Grapes. Poor Larry David, rest in peace. Although he's not dead, but anyway. And what I've been saying is, slow burn movies. These movies have another thing that is good. None of them are slow. That helps with that crowd. You go on Letterboxd, you go and you see a film like Two Prosecutors, which is making its debut in the cinema now, I believe. At least here in Portugal. And I go on Letterboxd, people hate that movie. They're like, this is slow, this is boring, this is awful. How could anyone enjoy this? And then you go on the newspapers. I like to read the Times and the Guardian and all those movie reviewers, like professional writers, and they all were like 5 stars. This is excellent. This is so subtle. This is great. Then I agree with them. A film like Two Prosecutors is one of the greatest films that have hit the cinema, and nobody's gonna watch it because it's old cinema. It's not doing anything particularly new. It's just a solid film. And unlike these, it's slow. It's not fast. It has little sound, almost no music, I would say. I believe it has a very tiny soundtrack because it doesn't need it, because that's not the story it's telling. And I think people, hate slow burn movies. And I don't know if Iron Lung is the same, but it really annoys me. It really annoys me. It's like, I know exactly what I watch a movie, I go on Letterboxd, I know what the reviews are going to be immediately, because these people are so predictable and they're so not open to watching things sometimes. And it's crazy. It's crazy to me. You'll see the people with 1,000 movies watched, and they won't have anything. But sorry, that sort of just reminded me of that, which is one of my great critiques with how people go about these things.
To be honest, that is spot on, because when you do look at the reviews for Iron Lung, the main review is, it's too slow. The other one is not understanding the lore drops, but you do kind of need to play the game to get that sort of knowledge for it. So that's my bad for not playing it.
Yeah, no, I mean, those movies are what they are. Knight, do you have anything else you would like to share with us? Anything you would like to comment?
It's all been covered for my questions.
All right. Thank you for joining us. I'm gonna kick you out now. No, it's kind of rude, but it is. It is what it is. Yeah, that was sort of a good thing to say. I mean, I think a lot of movies have these sort of problems, but I think we are seeing more horror, and we're seeing a renaissance, not of horror films, but of, as we discussed, YouTube. It's just a bit bizarre, but it is what it is. And I mean, Fricka, you don't go to the movies that much, but you do watch quite a bit of movies and shows. Yes. It just occurred to me, do you think it's going to happen in TV too? Or that it has happened? I mean, are we going to see... Actually, it has sort of happened, but it didn't translate very well. But, Jimmy Beast tried to do a TV show and went horribly because he had to give rights to his workers as per television guild law, and he really didn't know about that. But do you think we're going to start seeing on television, we're going to start seeing that sort of stuff?
As in horror or more sort of indie projects?
Indie, but specifically to do with YouTube and done by influencers and that whole social media spiel.
It'd be really unfortunate to discuss it again, but we have to loop back to the Amazing Digital Circus and all the other shows, because that's sort of what my mind goes to of more indie projects. There's not many indie television. I guess there are some, but
I mean,
let me help you,
because you have stuff like Smiling Friends, which is obviously sort of that. But even you look at any Adult Swim program, you look at Rick and Morty stuff, and that sort of came from that. But those weren't ever the big television hits. I mean, and it's on animation, which is a whole other ballpark, right? I can talk about the shows that I've been watching that I love, Harvey Birdman and The Venture Bros, which we watched the movie in voice chat last week. I don't know if you were actually watching, but I was watching. But you look at actual series and TV shows, and you've yet to see that, I believe. And I think that's curious that TV, which usually used to be the faster-paced, more innovative sort of medium, and you look at the 2000s, you have shows like Sopranos and The Wire, which we just watched, right? Which are go and take very different parts of life and very innovative things, and do things in such a different way. Why haven't we... It's so curious to me why we haven't seen this innovation in TV, actually.
Streaming. That's the reason.
Are we part of the problem?
Yeah. I mean, streaming does have the positive of... I'm not going to say convenience. I'm going to say, especially in the case of Netflix, they sort of they get the revenue from all the subscribers, and they just have this one massive sort of budget, and then they just distribute that on a million other just random nothing burger projects. And sometimes Netflix will land, sometimes they'll have, a big project that land here or there, such as Squid Game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, that definitely landed, yeah. And again, let me take that. I mean, Squid Game sort of was helped by the fact and I hate to say this, but it was sort of helped by the fact it was Korean. And this was during that, what they call it, the Hallyu wave, I believe is the term, which is, the K-pop and K fans that existed and were so obnoxious about things, but also so passionate. And that definitely helped. And I mean, wouldn't you say that that's, again, here we have a sort of horror/gore series helped by this internet phenomena. Wouldn't you say so?
It is kind of funny that both Squid Game and K-pop Demon Hunters are like some of the two most successful things to come out of Netflix in recent years, and that's Korean projects. K-pop Demon Hunters, of course, being like I'm pretty sure it was the biggest like animated film in recent memory.
It was so much so my lecturer had to bring it to class and we had to watch it in class, so much so that in my television course we had to look at it, which is ridiculous, but it is very different. But yeah, please, sorry, go on.
We don't get to see so many traditional television shows like that anymore. Of course, they still exist with HBO, although that is put into question with the whole Paramount thing going on. But it feels like with streaming, a lot of that is lost. A lot of it's turned into slop. There's a lot more focus on documentary sort of series, low effort series, and it does feel like an end of an era for television. I think. Yeah. There's going to be some good project like Pluribus. I like Pluribus.
I haven't watched it.
HBO saw some good gigs.
I really need to watch that. I really haven't. I mean, I think, and let me just cap it up before we finish this. I think we're seeing an era that is completely different in media. And I mean, look at us. This is what our project is, right? It's bringing television into streaming and streaming into television at the same time. And I think this is going to be sort of what's successful. And I think television is we're gonna start seeing a bunch more of internet inspired things in television. I really do think that. Any other thing in 30 seconds or less?
Nope.
Yeah, all right. That's about all we have. I mean, we'll be back next week, Thursday, 10 to 12. Hopefully with myself with a microphone that doesn't wanna die every other moment. I don't know if it was very electric, but we'll be back hopefully, Fricka, with the Nintendo Direct for you, right? Which we are
on everyone's soul. It's happening, and we're gonna see the plane test. And we're gonna see. I can't talk about it because this is on recording. But on everyone's life, we're seeing that game.
Hopefully we are indeed, and I mean, let's just hope that we see the Nintendo Direct next week, and I'll prepare something for you too. That's about all the time we have, but we will be back once again next Thursday, 10 to 12. I am Pina.
I am Fricka.
And this has been Screenside.